Welcome to another exciting edition of The Spirit of Science. I'm Ahana. I'm here with my co-host Daniel Nalon. And it's an exciting edition today because we are going to go on video as well as audio. And we have with us Matthias Gelber. He's the Green Man of Germany. Matthias, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ahana and Daniel. I'm glad to be with you today. Looking forward to our chat.
Okay, I just wanted to introduce everyone who Matthias is. So Matthias Gelber is a professional speaker, international trainer and businessman. He's the co-founder of Maleki GmbH. Matthias discovered his passion about all things environmental as a teenager while growing up in a little village in Germany. He started out his journey as a trainer, a consultant for environmental management systems, and built this up as a successful business in this field. His realization developed that the best way to be green is to market it and being a part of it. His dream is that the technology will reduce the world's CO2 emissions by 1% using this amazing green technology, and he formed the Eco Warriors Malaysia as part of the LOHAS concept and the movement, as well as the greenest person on the planet was the award that he picked up in 2008 by thirdwave.com. Matthias, thanks again for joining us.
My pleasure, thank you.
So Matthias, we'll just start with maybe your vision and vision about green technologies, eco-materials, and then a little bit about your company as well.
Yeah, I think I practiced a lot of green living myself and green business. I moved to this part of the world 9.5 years ago. I tried to mobilize people to adopt a green lifestyle, and then I kind of somehow came to the conclusion, maybe disruptive technology that is able to absorb a lot of CO2 emissions or replace conventional processes that are very carbon intense might be the fastest way of achieving big results. So this idea of 1% of worldwide CO2 emissions was very much based on the German company, which essentially is replacing cement. And most people don't really know about that, but the production of cement is responsible for about 6% of the world's CO2 emissions. 6%, I mean, that is huge. That is nearly twice as much as all the planes in the world together. And we're not really consciously aware of that. But the fundamental practice of manufacturing cement is the burning of limestone. And limestone is, for those of you who paid attention in your chemistry lessons in school, it's calcium carbonate, CaCO3. Mother Nature has absorbed the carbon dioxide in there. We burn it at 1400 Celsius to release the carbon dioxide that was locked in and to release the carbon dioxide deriving from burning the fuel. So it's a double whammy. 1 ton of cement in worldwide average, 1 ton of carbon dioxide. There's no other physical manufacturing process of a physical end product. Obviously energy and fuel is number one, but the physical end product in this form cement is the world's largest contributor in terms of manufacturing physical process outputs in terms of CO2. So we have basically been doing what the Romans did 2000 years ago. Portland cement was only invented in 1700. And obviously it is the number one building material at this point in time because it's very easily accessible. And a lot of big boys, big companies have invested a lot of money in cement kilns. They have no strong interest to necessarily change that. Similar like energy issues where, you know, the big guys have their infrastructure, and to shift that to renewables or totally alternative energies is difficult because there are people with commercial interests interested in keeping things as they are. So here we are using what the Romans did. When you see the Pantheon in Rome, the nice building with the hole in the middle, it was built more than 2000 years ago. There was no cement in those days. Cement was only invented in 1700. The Romans used volcanic ash and activated it in an alkaline manner, and that is what we do. We use waste material, fly ash, slag, we can use volcanic ash and activate that in a special alkaline manner, and we minimize the cement content in the building materials. But we had to focus on small volume, high margin products like self-leveling flooring, waterproofing, niche areas, because we're not strong enough, we don't have the infrastructure to do the concrete game. That's for the big boys.
And that's the important thing, the infrastructure is the most important, because people have already made such a foundation. They have obviously their businesses, their obviously invested interests, because all their companies are based off that. So to actually change, it's not actually hard, it's just expensive. And that's what makes it harder for everyone to join on board.
millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in each country, or billions, have been invested in that infrastructure. If you're coming in as a newbie, no chance. I mean, maybe in countries where the markets are expanding, but I remember there was a fly ash separation technology in the UK which looked very promising, because they were even mining old fly ash mountains to turn it into valuable products, including partial cement replacement. But those guys mopped up after some time because they could never sell it to the ready-mixed concrete companies, who were controlled by the cement companies, who in a stable or shrinking market were obviously not buying anything else from someone else, but using their own cement output. So these guys could not commercially survive. So when you have disruptive technology, there's always a strategic question: how can you grow, build up some muscle so you become stronger, or find the right market access strategy? Yes. And we as a business are now strong in terms of those products. Lower volume, higher margin. We are running very profitable as a business. We are growing organically very fast. We're more than doubling our turnover this year without any external money coming in. And we basically as well work with a big company in Germany, the number 2 in terms of dry mortar mixing. Those are not the concrete guys, but the guys who do all of the other products below concrete, like tile adhesives, screed. And these guys are the number 2. We give them 5%, the technology is in there, they mix the rest of the 95%. They can manufacture much cheaper, they can manufacture high volume. The ton of sand that they buy is half the price than for us, because small volume versus high volume. So we had to adopt our strategy, and we are even thinking about spinning off the green concrete business to have somebody else come in that can actually, with financial or infrastructure muscle, roll it out. We're even thinking of a maybe open source concept. That would be something I would be, but we first need to buy it off the core company to give the shareholders some value on the risk and the money that they've invested.
Well, no one's going to invest.
But that is actually what I have proposed, that we put it somehow into an open source concept and make it accessible to the world, because the technology that we have got, I've not seen anything anywhere close. And it has the potential to save 1% of the world's CO2 emissions. And I have battled both with my own money and with my energy, and against, you know, all these barriers that you face. These are market access barriers, or these might be barriers of your internal team getting frustrated because you expected to make money after 2 or 3 years, but it takes you 5 or 6, or maybe you never get into that position till you're actually profitable. And you have to adjust all the time, and you need to pump in more money.
And if you don't have something already established, like you're talking about stuff's been around for 1700, there's a big struggle for you now to go through and find out how does this technology work, make it more obviously efficient, and then refine that technology so you can get it to a stage where it can compete with the big ones.
So that's been an exciting but challenging journey, but we're now coming from a position of stabilization and strength. Our products have commercially been proven in the marketplace, and we are ready to take the next level. And we have some products where people are amazed, like nothing else like that exists in the world. We have products that are temperature resistant, 1200 Celsius, extremely abrasion resistant, extreme adhesion on concrete and steel, and virtually completely chemically resistant in aggressive acids environment, even superior than any epoxy can deliver. And those are the areas where people are starting to pay us very good money, because we're solving problems. But I would like to solve the problem of CO2 emission reduction in the building industry through especially those countries that are experiencing massive growth. And I'm looking at China, India, South Africa, Brazil, Indonesia, where you have a lot of those waste materials, and where you have strategic pockets. We wouldn't even need to hurt the established cement companies. What's the point in investing 1, 2 or 3 billion, I'm not sure how much a cement plant will cost, in areas where you have enough waste material to deliver the concrete needs of the growing industry by a low carbon footprint, high performance concrete, rather than investing a couple of billion into gigantic CO2 manufacturing cement kilns that you don't actually need.
that's why I want to talk a little bit more about this. A lot of people don't look at the actual energy cost.
Yes.
Catalytic converters is a good example. With that, a lot of people are putting catalytic converters thinking they're helping the environment.
Yeah.
No, the amount of pollution and chemicals that are released is horrible.
Yeah.
So look at the flexible solar panels, for instance, as well. But can we? This is an overlooked fact. Society wastes so much energy in the production. And also these chemicals and pollutions are released. So how is this factored in with your business?
Yeah.
Obviously you're using waste products and using that to make it more sustainable. But do you include the energy cost? How much energy is going into reducing these items?
Yeah. On the solar panels, for the company that I am a board member of, Solexcel, it's as well an innovation technology. I'm quite careful with which companies I get involved in and technologies because I have that goal of massive CO2 reduction. And that was the first question I asked them. How long does it take your cells and subsequent panels to recover the energy that was put into the manufacturing of the cells? And the second generation of Solexcel will be about 8 months, less than a year, which is an extremely good figure. That means after 8 months of operation, they'll be carbon positive. And there are no nasty heavy metals involved in the actual cell production either. That's an important thing as well, because some solar cells at the end of life, they might be considered hazardous materials because of the, I mean, any solar cell manufacturing process has got certain environmental impacts because you are dealing with semiconductor type manufacturing processes. So, you know, there's likely some sewing, some etching and other stuff, but we will have a gas deposition technology where we will have close to zero waste. And that way we are reducing the cost of production as well.
And it depends on the country, because in Australia there's a law passed where we can't use toxic materials in the building of electronics, where if you go to some countries like China or India, that's not the case. They don't have laws like that, where they've made it where it's considered e-waste. And that's one thing where a lot of people don't understand about solar panels, for instance. There is a lot of negative effects on the environment. And the average life of a solar panel is at least 25 years plus. So if you're talking about 8 months before it becomes carbon positive, that's amazing. We have over 24 years where it's doing something positive for the environment.
Yeah, definitely. And looking at the first example, the green concrete, what people often measure is the embodied energy of a building envelope. But in the context of concrete, it's not an accurate reflection of the total environmental impact. Because the embodied energy that you would calculate to manufacture it would be the fuel-related energy to get it up to 1,400 Celsius. It doesn't actually capture the CO2 emission that you're releasing by decarbonizing the limestone. Because there's CO2 embodied in the material and you're releasing it. So it's an impact that's on top of the energy-related impact.
So you have a double footprint.
Yes. Actually, that's we wanted to ask you that question. That how do you foresee green materials evolving in the future, working in harmony with nature and reducing footprint? So how do you see this evolving?
Yeah. Obviously, we have to work on two levels. One level is technological innovation that makes use of waste material to replace manufactured stuff that has a heavy carbon footprint, to have a double benefit of waste reduction and replacement of carbon intense materials. And we need to shift back to natural materials as much as possible. I mean, I'm an advocate, for example, when it comes to building materials of bamboo and other natural materials. Bamboo is amazing. Grows very fast, it hardly needs any water, it absorbs loads of carbon dioxide, and it is a very strong structural material. And if you look at some of the most iconic buildings, I mean, in Bali we all have heard of the eco school. It's all made from bamboo. And traditional house building was using bamboo or other natural material, was using natural material for the roof.
I was going to say, even the scaffolding, I went to Bali in 2012, and that was the first thing I pointed out to my friends. I said, we're at home, we do metal everywhere. There they had bamboo, and then they took that down and then replaced it with the actual structure.
I mean, even in science and what we are doing at the Scimeta Project, it's actually about returning back to nature or the natural flow of things. So I just want to ask you, in terms of the community in Asia, so we've for the Lohas, Asia, for example. How do you see the community here evolving, or where do you see the low-house community in Asia going?
It's growing. It's definitely on the move towards a stronger brigade, but it's still a minority. We don't yet have a mass movement of people that actually say, I buy green. I can give you an example, quite a shocking example, but a true one. I was training some of the members of a green directory, people who were selling green products in Malaysia. And on the second day I challenged them, so how many of you guys are actually buying green in your own lives?
Living
And,
green.
yeah, and only one hand went up. And I was like, I was a bit, you know, I was whacking it a little bit and saying, how can you guys expect or even complain that the market is not grabbing all your products if you yourself don't even practice it? So, you know, so we need to go back to the basics. A lot of people will say, I buy green, but at the end of the day, it's all about convenience. Southeast Asia, we're still in a lot of countries between developing and developed. So in Malaysia, cherry makan, where do I get my money from, is the priority, understandably. But the system is giving people the impression that it's cheap to consume resources, because a lot of resource consumption is subsidized. People don't realize that to get water to your house costs a lot of money. There's a water pipe being built from Pahang to Selangor. Hardly anyone knows that an originally 4.5 billion budgeted project, latest estimate 9 billion, will cost every Malaysian taxpayer maybe a couple of hundred ringgit. So the true cost of water is huge, but people don't necessarily realize. They complain organic food expensive, but the fact that the cost of producing chemically containing Cameron Highland vegetables, in terms of destroying the soil, destroying the water, destroying your health, and the impact on society of having to pay for rectifying that, is going to be much bigger than the money we're saving by making them cheap. So the true cost is different than what people are actually perceiving. And what people are perceiving is green is expensive and non-green is cheap. That's why most people say, I cannot afford it. But my message is, the fact that I'm living green means I have more money in my pocket than you. Why? My electricity bill, since I lived in Malaysia since more than 9 years, has always been plus minus 30 ringgit a month. Only when I had somebody else staying with me, then it went up.
Leaving lights on, doing this and that. But it's interesting when you're talking about the food, because that's one thing in Australia that we take very seriously. And a lot of people will support green because they know just the imprint. You look at America, there's a lot of places that are dust bowls. They've destroyed the soil, they've put in all these chemicals, you're eating irradiated food, and basically you have people there are happy to pay a little bit more money because you know that what they're doing is they're using natural materials, they're not using fertilizers, they're using eco things, putting in certain bacteria or certain species of insect to eradicate some of these other problems, instead of just throwing chemicals at it and throwing money at it too. The amount of money and resources that you're putting into other companies to do this, it's counterproductive, and you're leaving a huge footprint.
But I think here the majority of people that buy organic food do it for health reasons. The health argument is more direct, more personal. Whereas saving the planet, or actually saving the human species, because the planet will survive, but the human species might be partially wiped out or whatever if we overstretch the carrying capacity of the planet. So that is less immediate. So and people's focus is more my survival, my family, understandably so. That is how we humans are maybe.
Here's the question. Do they ever look about the future parts of the family? Because people are only looking in the here and now. And one thing which a lot of people are trying to push forward now is, why don't you have a look at, not you, but look at your grandchild. And that's one thing that a lot of people aren't paying attention to, and we're using that one now for the coal seam gas in Australia. Because you can see if people wreck all the water supplies, what are people going to drink in 20 years' time? Because all the water has gone to these big companies that have been polluted and put all these gases through everything. So maybe that's something that low-house and people like that should be looking at. Not the now, but look at the future generations. Do you care what happens in the future?
That's what I ask people. But then I observe that the focus of people is the here and now. The focus of people is, how can I help my family in the short term rather than in the long term? And it's too abstract. What counts for people here is, how can I maximize my money making and return on investment at whatever environmental cost to make sure my family can live well. That is the non plus ultra. And just to come back to this thing that we were talking about, the expensive to go green.
Right.
I save electricity.
Yep.
Water doesn't really matter because it hardly costs anything, even though in practice it's expensive for the country. I don't have a car loan to pay back. And a lot of things I don't buy because I ask the question before I buy things, do I really need this? That saves me a huge amount of money.
I just want to talk now about the Eco Warriors in Malaysia,
Yeah.
something that you're championing. At the moment, this has grown to over 5,000 members and it's becoming an awesome following. So, therefore, how do you see this growing to hundreds of thousands and then millions, so you reach all the people in Malaysia?
We never had that ambition. It just went viral at one stage when we really were having a very strong focus on restoring degraded peat swamp forest. That's when I learned what is the reason for the haze. The haze only comes about from the draining of peat. Full stop. Very simple. Only when humans come in, lower the water table, then you got those fires under the soil that smolder for weeks. That is where, in my opinion, 80 to 90% of all the haze comes from. All the other paddy fields burning, that's finished in a couple of hours, nothing to burn anymore. This burns for weeks, it smolders. And if we stop the draining of peat, if we start filling up the drainage canals again, that would be the fastest way to get rid of the haze. So we did a tree planting in a degraded peat swamp forest, and we did huge tree planting events, and people were joining. We are actually planning a reinvigoration of Eco Warriors. I think it's on the 26th or 27th of April. We're planning an Eco Warrior leadership training, just a small symbolic fee to get the commitment of people and pay for the food, like 20 or 30 ringgit. And it will be all about leadership. I'll be chairing the day, and we want to find a new group of young Malaysian leaders that will actually champion tree planting, or we did a condo recycling system that we set up, we documented it, it works. Gregor Ryman, one of our other Eco Warriors, he really championed that. And in my old condo, every month over 300 kilos of waste get recycled. And the cleaners look after it and they keep the money from selling it, and it works by itself. We document it all. So some of these initiatives we would like to revive again and then see where it goes. But I would like it to be driven by local Malaysians. I would like to empower and inspire local Malaysians to carry it into the future, rather than this being a green man Matthias Gelber thing. I would love to pass it on to a new generation of young Malaysian leaders.
And they can reach more people.
Yeah.
So
I mean, for 2014, so what would be some of the upcoming events that you're doing, and you know, what do you plan for the 2014?
We will be doing more tree planting. That's always been one of our main focal areas. And the rest of what we will focus on, I would like that group of leaders to determine. Ownership is very important. We haven't set an agenda. We haven't set an agenda for the rest of the year. I would like the people that come to our training there to work together on, this is what we want to do. This is what's going to make an impact. Or maybe even form different, leadership teams. We will just leave it into the iterative development on the day, and the empowered youngsters that are there to take things forward.
So is there a date for this, or have you?
26th of April is in about a month's time.
And what more about you? So what can people say about more, Matthias, the Green Man of Germany? What are you going to be doing for upcoming events and presentations with all things to do with your business, your eco-technology, so everything?
Yeah. My focus this year is to bring both technologies to a stage where they can fly off even more. So I'm largely focused on both Maleki and Solexel this year. I've reduced my speaking commitments, but I am getting involved in a couple of events. For example, just a week before, I think on the 23rd, 24th, around about that, there's a green technology conference here in Malaysia, organized by an organization called Comfori, and I'll be chairing that and be presenting. So there'll be a couple of more technology-related events. Then on, I think, Earth Day, I'll be speaking at one of the local universities. So I'll be doing a couple of talks here and there. Maybe later in the year, some schools as well. I always enjoy going into schools and speaking to young Malaysians. I got the other day a Facebook message from one of the school kids that I met of one of the schools, and she was saying, oh, green man, I want to grow up fast so I can help you save the planet. And I mean, that is really touching, cool. That is sweet. And that was one of my biggest ever likes on Facebook when I had this picture with this group of young students in one of the international schools, where you could see they were enjoying themselves and they were like ganging up for helping the planet. So yeah, those will be some of my focal areas.
But it's all about the research. It's about getting the stuff done. So as you said, you can push it forward to the future generations, and they can do something with it.
That's right.
Sure. Okay. So thank you for joining us on the show, Matthias. Discussing green technology, eco-materials, and obviously a little bit of other stuff thrown in. It's been amazing to hear more about your work and everything to do with the Green Man of Germany. More information on Matthias can be found on his Malecki website, where you're doing all your research, which is www.maleckigmbh.com, or you can also check your Greenman blog, which is greenmanplanet.blogspot.com. Your Facebook group is the Eco Warriors Malaysia, and Twitter you have Matthias Gelber. You're also saying you have another Facebook page as well.
I haven't been using my Twitter for a couple of years, so you won't find anything interesting there, but Green Man Matthias Gelber, you'll find me on Facebook, so you can connect with me there. And I've got a website as well, greenmanspeaks.com, which is mainly about my professional speaking and what kind of subjects I speak on. A lot of clips on there from talks or from TV breakfast shows or radio stuff, so that's a good place to go as well.
Right, and you can, I think if we Google you, there's a lot of material, YouTube videos as well.
And also your YouTube channel.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So thank you so much. And for more information on the Scimeta Project, you can visit our website at www.sci-meta.com. You can connect with us on Facebook as well at Scimeta Project, or on our Twitter at Scimeta_project. So stay tuned for the next edition of the Spirit of Science show on Inspire FM. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.
Thank you again.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you.